Welcome to week 7, where we begin studying Rene Descartes and his Meditations on First Philosophy, books 1 and 2. This week we'll begin to study Descartes, and this will introduce us to the idea of skepticism, and it begins what most historians and historians of ideas call modern philosophy. By the end of the week, you'll be able to analyze Descartes' skepticism, including the reason why we call it modern philosophy, so his influence on it. In order to accomplish this, you're going to start by studying a short written lecture on the history of modern philosophy that I've written. You'll study Descartes' text while you're answering the journal reading questions. There's a couple of movie references this week, including one link for an old movie from the 90s called The Matrix, which I think some of you are about my age, so you may actually have seen this movie a couple of times. You'll also study the written lecture on skepticism, and then finally by Wednesday post on the skepticism discussion board. Come back on Friday and Sunday over the weekend to communicate with your classmates. Then starting around Thursday, study the written lecture on this thing called I Think Therefore I Am, so that by Friday you'll begin to be able to post on the discussion board for that. I've also given you your final paper assignment sheet. You do not need to begin working on it this week, as you will see, but I will allow you to begin to ask questions about it and maybe even get some feedback on your short paper number 2. So in order to accomplish these things, I want to make a couple of quick comments. The first is, the first 6 weeks have been Aristotle and Plato, and these guys are 2,300 years old. Their ideas have been around in world history forever. They predate Islam, they predate Christianity. They have influenced both of those religions in fundamental ways. And what happens with René Descartes is it gives you an opportunity to start to consider ideas that might feel a little more familiar to you. And this is no accident. It's because the ideas of the last 400 years really shape your mental life. They shape our educational system. They shape the kinds of things we talk about. And so René Descartes actually might feel a little easier for you to get into. And I try to explain that here in a written lecture on the history of philosophy. This is the text. Movie link for The Matrix. There's actually quite a few movies that are influenced by Descartes and his skepticism, but this seems to be the most accessible for students, but there's certainly others as well. Then I give you a written lecture on Descartes and what skepticism is for him, what he means by it. And then as soon as you're done with that, you'll want to go to the discussion board. Finally, starting on Thursday, as I said, there's a written lecture on the Meditations Book 2, where Descartes has his famous line that says, I think, therefore I am. 2 is your journal reading questions, which you can turn into me as normal. The discussion board on skepticism, which should begin Wednesday, and the discussion board on I Think Therefore I Am, which should begin by Friday. I have also included for you the assignment sheet for the term paper. It is the same rubric that we use for the first and second short papers is also used for this. Hopefully your video feedback has been really useful for you to try to figure out how you can improve these papers. I would suggest maybe waiting for me to finish your second short paper before you actually decide which one you'd like to start in on. But if you feel like that you've already, maybe you didn't score very well on the first one and you know the second one's going to be better, or you're really, really interested about the first one, feel free to jump right in. Otherwise, I will repost this at week 8, and you'll have time to work on it then, of course. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.